All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome into House Edge Live. It's John from Casino Gaming Central. We're flying through another week. I can't believe I always get so tweaked out by it. It's already Thursday. It's like, man alive, these weeks go by so fast. And part of it is just the scheduling, right? It's like I've got, obviously working on the app with the crew from Casino Quest, and that's a 12-hour a day kind of a thing. And then I prep for the shows, and it's like, oh my god, it goes from 7 o'clock in the morning to midnight like that, and then all of a sudden it's Thursday. Like, it's crazy how fast things go. But yeah, good morning, hello, Kevin, and hope you're doing well down there. I saw the picture, so I know you're doing pretty good down there in Vegas. So all right, let's hop on into it. I want to get right to it. We have a long show today. Got a lot of things. More than I thought I was going to have for this letter L. It's kind of funny, isn't it? How fast it all really goes. Like when I go through these letters, A, I'm surprised we're already on the letter L, and B, I'm surprised how much content there actually is. I forgot something this morning, had to add it back in again. So anyway, let's hop in here and again, your daily reminder that we do this because it is a battle, right? You are in battle at the casino. And it's like, I hate to sound so negative about it because it's fun. We all enjoy gambling. We all enjoy that's why we do these shows. We do our shows and you guys go to the casinos because we enjoy it. It's fun, but it's not a fair fight. You got to go in there knowing that, right? It's basically, you have to understand that if you happen to win, it's luck. If you, you don't really have an advantage, right? So you get lucky, and if you do the right things when you're lucky, you're going to be okay. If not, they will take it all. They're not going to tell you at the table, you know what, sir, you're on a bad run. Why don't you walk away? Dealer will never tell you that. Pit boss will never tell you that. They're there to just gobble up all your funds, man. So we have to, as players, right, be armed with the best tools that we can. And I think that between David's bridge framework, John Patrick's Big Four Little Three, these frameworks that we talk about, they work in terms of they give you more mental tools, right? They strengthen the brain muscle to help you not make poor decisions. I don't think anything I talk about, other than if I find the next great strategy, is ever going to make you win more often or win more. You can do things that'll make you win less often and lose more, right? That's the thing. Okay. You can definitely make decisions that will make you lose more money and lose more often, but there's nothing you can do that hits that. It goes past the ceiling when the math gets you. You're not going to ever win more often than you should or win more money than you should in a regular casino game. You have to know that. So understanding how your bankroll works, identifying your risk tolerance, opportunities to leave, play, whatever, your discipline, all these things are mental tools that you can use to help you make better decisions and limit the damage and maximize the wins when the variance kind of goes to you, right? So that's the whole reason for doing this stuff, all right? Now, we're jumping into the series. It's called the ABCs of Gambling. Today, we're on letter L, okay? And the idea behind the series was to have some fun, right? I've already done kind of, the Gambling 101 to 401 series. I'm going to do kind of a 101 to 401 in every game. We're going to go through craps and roulette and all the different games and kind of go from zero to hero. And I'll even do sports betting and poker, games I don't know that much about. And I'll learn with you, kind of a thing, right? I'll be able to teach with you. This one was more of a way to frame like a lot of general gambling terms. And I thought it'd be fun to kind of go through the alphabet and just kind of pick words that start with each letter. So today we're on letter L. And the letter L, I shouldn't be on screen here. Hold on, let me take this and go here. Is that better? There we go. We're on the letter L. And the thing of it is, the L becomes kind of the long game episode, okay? And where most gambling advice think it's wrong, they tell you to accept the math and they leave you with nothing but like you're resigned to get your ass kicked. And I don't like that, right? So we're going to look today a little bit at things like luck and how temporary luck really is. Well, of course, we got to play with the law of large numbers, right? We have to get some math in every show for sure. It means the house always wins, right? Law of large numbers is the house always wins. There's another way to say that. But the key word there is they always win eventually, right? It doesn't mean you're helpless. It just means we all need better tools, right? So We'll cover some truth about luck and long-term math. We'll get practical and we'll talk a little bit about loss limits that maybe match your strategy, not some arbitrary number that you write down. I want to get into recovery mechanics a little bit too. Having a plan when you're down, and really recovery mechanics to me become more of a mental game. Again, it's mental, mental, mental. How do we mentally get out of the dog days of being down, and how do you actually focus on your bankroll, right? And recover your bankroll, I think, what I want to say properly. And we'll hit on a couple of systems, the ladders and Labouchere, which are negative progressions that give you structure when you need it. And finally, we'll touch a little bit on lay bets, and which are, again, a little bit math based. Lay bets are confusing for some people, so we'll make sure that we talk about that. All right, let's go ahead and hop in and jump through the letter L here. So, all right, first one that I want to hit on is hello. There we go. Is luck. All right, so let's. I got this. My microphone's too. Hold on, it's maybe a little noisy here while I move this around. There we go. All right. I think that's part of the problem with the clipping is where the microphone is. Anyway, luck is real, right? And it's what happens in the short run. Luck is tied to variance, right? So we know that things swing around. You're not always going to get the perfect 36 rolls in craps or the perfect 38 spins in a roulette wheel, right? So when it's different than the 36 you expect in craps, that means one more 7 or 2 more 7s than you should, or less 7s than you should. And then if you have 2 less 7s than you should, then you have 2 more 5s than you should, right? That's if you happen to be on the 5 when you get more 5s than you should, that's luck. It's variance mathematically, but it's also luck for you. It's temporary, right? Math is patient. Math will work itself out. We know this, right? But luck is real. And it may surprise you to hear me say that, but luck is real. It's where you make money. When you get lucky, you make money. Especially if you're betting properly during that span of time, you make a lot of money, right? You had a jackpot in your first spin, it's luck, right? When the cards just happen to fall your way, a perfect shoe for you, it's luck. I was in Vegas not long ago, and David from Casino Quest, I was trying to find him. We were going to go to dinner, and he walked back to play Keno, and he sat down at the Keno machine, and his very first card, he won like 4K. Right? Bang, just like that. We had a real nice dinner that night. It happens, right? The mistake that people make, I think, isn't that they believe in luck. We all should believe in luck, right? The mistake is relying on it, okay? It's what, again, statisticians call variance. It's that gap between what should happen and what actually happens in the short run, not the long run. Over 10 hands, anything can happen. Over 10,000 hands, as we'll learn in a minute, the math takes over, right? Think of it this way, like luck is like weather, okay? Math is climate. I love that analogy, by the way. I got that online, and I think that's beautiful. Luck is weather. Math is climate. You might get a sunny day in Seattle. Maybe. We got one last weekend, right? We had a great sunny day for the Seahawks game in the divisional round, right? But over the year, it's going to average out to be wet. It just is what it is. You might even have a great sunny week in Seattle in the wintertime, but guess what? The rest of the winter is going to be like crappy. It's the way it is. That's luck, and that's math. Okay? You may win tonight, but over the gambling lifetime, the house edge will take over and take your money. That's just the way that it works. We have to know that, right? Players who last longest, I believe, are the ones who enjoy that luck when it comes. They capitalize on it when they can, but they don't expect it to continue. And they never build a strategy around getting lucky. Follow? It's real. Like I said, it's real in the short run. The long run belongs to math. You enjoy those lucky sessions, but never mistake luck for any kind of skill. That's a big thing. All right. So because luck is a thing, we have to look at the law of large numbers, which is the opposite side of luck. Okay. The law of large numbers is why the casinos always win and why your hot streak always ends. And in the most important, I think it's the most important mathematical concept we have. Okay. And it's working against you. This is why casinos work. It's the entire business model is based on this mathematical principle. They don't sweat it when you win. They love it when you win. Casinos love it, by the way, when players win big. Trust me. If somebody goes to a roulette table and puts a bunch of dough down, right, and they win 3K on some number, $10 on a straight up number, and they win 30, they love that. Everybody goes crazy, right? The whole place looks at the roulette table. What just happened over there, right? Or somebody whacks an ATS on the craps table, even with hundreds on it. They don't care. They want that excitement, vibe, and energy because everybody's going to go, what just happened? And people lose their minds. We talk about this, that you as the winner become a distraction for somebody else. Does that make sense? So they don't care about your system, your lucky socks. They want you to do great. They know. Why am I not on screen here? What is happening? Hello? There we go. Okay. That was weird. It just kind of took my picture out. They know the law of large numbers. They understand how this thing works. Here's what it basically says, right? As the number of, and I have it on here, as the number of trials or sample size increases, right? The actual results converge towards expectation, right? We talk about this. The average 36 rolls, you'll never see, almost never, a perfect 36 exact set of rolls on a craps table, right? Over 36 million rolls, it'll feel exactly perfect. And I'm going to give you a little example here in a second of how that works. For the casino, it's beautiful. They can survive that weird variant, that crazy day where they lose $150,000 on a craps table. They can survive that because they know that the next 365 days they're going to be okay, right? To them, it's beautiful because they're seeing millions, billions of decisions every year. If you can look at slots and all the table games together, right? Their results converge and it becomes the expected value, and they can do math on that and determine their profits, right? They know exactly how much money they're going to make on January 1 for the year, assuming that people are coming, right? For you, it's different. You're not seeing hundreds or thousands of decisions, right? Or I'm sorry, you're seeing hundreds or thousands. You're not seeing millions in any one visit, right? You experience that weird variant. You have winning months and losing months, or winning days and losing days. That's you, right? If you play long enough, this law will catch up to you and you may not realize it. Okay. Let's take roulette for an example. Let's say today you go to the table, you play 100 spins, and tomorrow 100 spins, and the next day 100 spins. Well, each day you live in a little window, a little variant where that day you could be lucky, right? But if you play 100 spins every day for a year, now you've seen 36,000 spins. Well, guess what? You're back to average again. Those nice days that you had and the bad days that you had, that all levels out over the course of time, right? The universe, by the way, doesn't balance itself out. You got to know this too. And again, my example will show you this. The universe does not seek balance. Large numbers just converge because they do. It's not because any one thing happens more than something else. It doesn't matter. Okay. You're not trying to beat any kind of mathematical law. You're trying to maximize your excitement, minimize your cost, and occasionally get lucky playing a good system that's designed to kind of, take your money slowly. If you can beat them, that's great. Here's a good example of kind of how this works. All right. So I have a coin flip example here. And let's say, hope you guys can lock in and see that closely enough. I'm going to zoom mine up so I can see it too. Let's look at the variant. You're at the casino one day, right? You're playing the coin flip game, or red and black and roulette, right? Doesn't matter. If you get one head and 99 tails, that's crazy. That's a crazy variant. If you're betting tails, you're the luckiest person on the frickin' planet. You probably make $1 million that day, right? You have a 1% win rate. 1% win rate, right? If everything else from now till the end of time goes according to plan, 50-50, the next 500 flips are exactly 500 heads and 500 tails. The universe didn't catch up to itself. There's no, heads didn't catch up to tails. They're just doing what they're supposed to do, right? Look at that. You instantly go to 45% hit rate. That 100 wins that you had earlier on gets gobbled up by evenness, right? You go to 5,000 trials, 5,001 versus 5,099. You're at 49.5% already at 5,000 trials. Doesn't take much to eliminate the 100 consecutive wins that somebody had in the first 100. And of course, you get to 500,000 You're basically there. You're at 50-50. And again, the universe doesn't catch back up. It isn't like we got 100 more heads somewhere. Like nothing was ever due. The math didn't have to give you extra heads to make up the difference. You just have to have a million of them, right? And when a million things go perfectly over time, and again, this will happen. You'll get 50 more heads one day, 50 less heads the next day. Over time, if it averages out to 50-50 like it should, the crazy gap that you had there on day one gets completely eliminated by the math. That's the casino's game. This is how they win. They don't care that on a Monday, well, I went backwards there, that on a Monday, 100 times in a row, they got their ass kicked on a craps table or roulette. They just don't care. They don't care. It was 100 perfect shoes. They don't care. Think about that. You could have a blackjack table with 7 people on it that has 100 consecutive shoes where everybody won every single hand. That's what the first row is, right? That heads, tails. Imagine that. Imagine a blackjack table where all 7 people won 100% of the hands for 7 or 100 straight shoes. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that? It wouldn't matter because the rest of the casino, the rest of the day, the rest of the year, it all comes down to 50-50, and the house edge on all those bets comes back in and they can expand the casino. That's exactly how this all works, right? So what you got to do is learn how to win or lose less when you're in this realm here, right? If you're on the head side of this, you're getting your ass handed to you, right? If you're not going to come off of heads like some people won't, then lose less while you're getting your tail kicked. If you're on the tail side, you had better capitalize on that because guess what? It ain't going to keep happening. That's how law of large numbers works. And it's a real thing. And it's what makes luck not matter. And you need luck. The casino needs time. I always say this, right? Time on the table is your biggest enemy. This is why. All right. That's law of large numbers. Okay. Loss limits. And a loss limit, by the way, is not about being scared. And I want to make that clear. It's about having a plan. So what people don't really tell you sometimes is that sometimes, and I say this, most people don't, the right loss limit oftentimes is your entire bankroll. Okay, before you buy in, know how much you're willing to lose. That's your loss limit. Simple enough, right? Very rarely do I leave a table with money. I either leave table with my goal or with nothing. And people who play with me can attest to this. I will rail dump all the time, right? Not on tilt, but I will make my last bet with my last money on the table most of the time, unless I'm leaving for time because we're going somewhere, right? I believe in that. I use my bankroll to its fullest potential as much as I can to the last one. I know that going in. It doesn't surprise me when I don't go to the cage. It doesn't, right? And it shouldn't surprise you either. But you got to know that going in. Have a loss limit. Most advice on this topic goes wrong though, because it assumes that your loss limit is some fraction of your buy-in. You know, bring 500, stop at 300 down. It sounds like a discipline, but really, what's happening? You're playing a game with yourself in that respect, right? What's actually happening when you hit that limit, right? If you're flat betting recreationally, sure, like a stop loss protects you from bleeding it all out, and whatever, you walk away, live the fight. But if you're running like a Labouchere sequence or some kind of a ladder or whatever, anything structured that you need an exact amount of bankroll to complete and you stop at your loss limit, it's got to be 100%. Ken talks about this on his show a lot. He's like, hey, if you've got a ladder system and you're planning to go to level 8 on the ladder system, right, which you have enough money to go ladder up 8 levels, and you know what that number is, it's $3,200 or whatever it comes out to be at your betting level, and you get spooked at level 5 or level 6, right? You want to walk away with some money, you blew the ladder up. You can't play a ladder if you're afraid to bet the money, right? If you are a person who believes I need 10 times my spread, if I'm going 44 inside on a craps table, I need $440 to do it. I'm going to try it 10 times. If you get scared or pissed off after number 7 and you walk away with an extra $88, well, good for you. You didn't play your system right, right? Your loss limit has to account for that. Your risk tolerance in the bridge, we talk about that, has to all match up, right? You have to know what your strategy requires, right? If your betting sequence needs $800, you got to bring $800 and your loss limit is $800. Okay. Buying in for $1,000 and setting a $500 limit means you guaranteed you can't execute your plan. And like I said before, it's mental gymnastics. It's you didn't lose it all, so you walked away with something, right? That's lying to yourself. Okay, loss limits, again, got to match strategy, not your comfort level. Okay, if the strategy you're playing makes you uncomfortable, then pick a different strategy. Okay, if it's not working for you, maybe you're doing the wrong thing. Okay, but don't pretend that some fake limit changes that math, right? And don't let it pad your stats. Okay, if you're logging your results, right, and you're logging 5 sessions where you lost 50%, and it looks like your whatever your little graph is like not moving that much, it's the same thing as having 5 sessions of 100% loss at a lower dollar amount, right? It's right? The dollar amount and the percentages, right? They can lie to you, right? Just keep that in mind, right? Don't lie to yourself. Don't let your loss limits and the mental games you're playing with that make you feel better about it. Loss is loss. Log it correctly and plan for it accordingly. That's the number one thing we can talk about in terms of that. Now, that said, loss recoveries are a thing, right? And I hate it when this happens, but doesn't it always seem to be the way, right? For me anyway, you're down $300 out of the gate, right? How many times you walk up to a craps table or whatever, and it's like you're instantly down 250 or half your money or whatever it is, right? You're like, God, what's the plan? What's the plan now, right? You went there to win and you're already starting behind. Most players do one of a couple things, and they're mostly wrong. And there's a better way, I think, right? So let's run with that example. You're down $300 in a session right away. What happens next? Well, one person's a home run hunter, right? He's going to bet, 150, couple of hands, win it back, and they're even. They escalate the bets, right? Without a plan. Just escalate the bet to try and claw back in quickly, right? They're trying to race that hole with a big swing. Sometimes that can work, right? You know me, I'm a big believer in larger bets are better than smaller bets because you have to win less often. However, when you're down and that doesn't go well for you because you escalated the bets while you were down, instead of maybe doing some J curving or something like that, right? More often you're down 450 now, right? You made it worse, right? There's the aimless chasing guy, right? Who might say, I just want to get even before I leave. No plan, no structure, just emotional energy, bigger bets, smaller bets are all over the place, betting on different things, right? Increasing the length of the session, making they're not reacting. They're not really playing. They're just kind of hoping for something else to catch them up, right? There's the grinder, the hopeful grinder guy who's like, I'm betting my unit and hope that variance turns, right? The stubborn, that's me. I'm more this guy, right? I'm going to be stubborn, grinding out the small wins, letting a variant take me through it. More passive than active, right? Hoping that I can overcome some math, right? With a little bit of length and get me back out of the hole, right? We all may recover. And again, I'm trying to be honest with you, right? I put myself in some of the bad situations, and sometimes my style of play keeps me there. I'm honest about that. I think, again, I'm not coming here from a place on high telling you that I'm the perfect gambler. I fall into some of the same traps we all fall into, okay? But while those 3 people may recover, right, the mental approach to that is probably incorrect, right? My vote really is getting back to even, seeing that as an accomplishment, as a win, as a target, not as a time to restart. Okay, that's the shift that we have to be okay with making. Okay, when you're down, you got to pull back first, right? Use something, a regression, smaller bets, a measured progression, up and pull, ladder, whatever it is, right? The goal when you're down is not to make profit. The goal is to get to zero. And again, remember that, right? A lot chasing the original goal when you're down 50% in the first 10 minutes is not it. Because once you're back even, now you have stable footing, you've stopped the bleeding, you can make a decision, right? But don't make your decision while you're down. You've proven, by the way, you get to zero, that you can navigate a down session. You can short stack play, right? Now you can lean in, you can press, or hell, go home. You have your decision, right? If you donk $300 and get to even, Remember this. You just won $300 and it's hard to do that, right? Winning $300 is hard. You buy them for 5, you lose 3 and you get back to 5. You just won $300, which is really hard to do. If you had that run when you first walked in, you'd be home, right? Maybe all you can afford is a donut now that you won, whatever, a few bucks back. Get out. Most players go right to, okay, I want to be up 500. Now we're going to play. Right? Winning $300 was hard. And trust me, that variant's not going to stay with you long enough to get you to profit. Smart play. Climb out of that hole first, then decide if you want to keep on climbing. Okay? It's okay. It's okay to be even. And fighting back to even sometimes is a big, big win. When you get there is when you have the conversation, right? Sometimes you get there on a great hand. I've done that too. I've been down $700-800 and caught a good hand with somebody and got to even and still had profit on the felt, right? That's the double regression, the lock profit, and then you get to go. You have to use your head to recognize that situation. But again, we get into here sometimes. So again, more mental gymnastics, but I think you get to even first before you have the conversation. Okay. Ladders. Now, most people tend to bet more when they're winning and less when they're losing. That's the right side thing, right? Ladders flip that script. And in choppy sessions, that the counterintuitive move has potential to print money. It really does. And again, I'm not talking about I'm down, I'm going to drop a bunch of money out here. It's a measured system. Okay. Because most people play more when they're winning and less when they're losing, they think they're playing with house money. They get what I call it selling wolf tickets, right? When you're betting on house money or betting on your wins, they bet less. Those same people bet less when they're losing because they're protecting what's left, right? That's the J curve mentality, by the way, right? When you're bet less when you're losing, more when you're winning. That's what most people subscribe to, some form of that. If you're looking for the win, okay. One side of the gambling community, Dr. S in our chat, Waylon in our chat, Ken, right? They think that's backwards. Flip the logic. When you lose, you bet up. You go up the ladder. When you win, you come back down the ladder. And it works, right? In a choppy session, win, lose, win, lose, win, lose. If you're flat betting, you're going to break even, right? If you ladder up, you bet 3 and you win, you drop to 2. You bet 2, you lose, you go back to 3. You bet 3, you win, you drop to 2. Guess what? You're making money. In that same sequence, you're making money as you win and drop back down. Even if you lose there and have to go back up again, you still net yourself up a unit each time you're up and down the ladder. In a chop, you're winning when the bigger bets win and you get to come back down. You end up being net positive. And again, we'll do more. Actually, I did a whole section on this a while back on the Dell and Bear, which is that basic ladder system. We'll do more deep dives on ladders later on after the ABCs of gambling, because I want to give you some better examples of it. Another one though that's pretty popular is called the Dell and Bear, and we've talked about this as well too. I'll do Labouchere in a minute. I have a note here to talk about it, but I'm going to skip it for now. I want to give a screen to it. The danger of ladders, though, is this. And I think people who play ladders will tell you, right? They assume you'll eventually win. You're going up, up, up as you lose. You know at some point you're probably going to win, and you get to come back down. And then you lose and you win, you come back down, and you come back down. They assume the wins will come, okay? A sustained losing streak, though, takes you up that ladder until all the rungs get really expensive as you're climbing, right? You need a ceiling at some point to stop that and accept. At some point, there is an acceptable loss with the ladder, right? Where they shine is choppy, weird sessions where you're not in a good variant. We're just kind of all over the place. That win-loss, or win-win, loss, win-win, loss. Those kind of things that kill regular bettors, right? If you're win-win, loss, and you're a parlay guy, win one, parlay the bet, lose it. Win one, parlay the bet, lose it. That guy is getting killed, even though he's winning 2 in a row all the time. The latter guy is winning on all those double sessions because he's coming back down again. Okay. Ladders don't do well, though, in a long, sustained losing session, right? It keeps climbing, and at some point you bust out, right? Ladder will bust out. When you watch guys on YouTube playing ladder systems, right? When they get beat, is at some point you get to level 10 or whatever, you've laddered up 10 times, you can't fight your way out of it, right? You just got to be aware of that. They do profit in the chop. Bet more when you lose, more, less when you win, and set a ceiling. I think that's the big thing, is setting a ceiling on them. All right. So the kind of ladder I want to talk about here now is this Labouchere, which is interesting. We did the Delambert before, which is the typical up as you lose, down as you win. The Labouchere works like, it looks like magic, actually. When you look at how this thing really works, you basically just cross off numbers and you watch your profit appear. And I'll show you how it works. Okay. You start, and you can do it with paper or an app, or if you're in your rack. I think I can probably give you a little rack example. And you just bet numbers in a sequence. And it doesn't matter how the sequence goes, as long as you're betting all your numbers. Okay. Let's just say you have a target of 10 units. I want to win 10 units. If I have $10 as my base bet, I want to win 100. Okay. So what you do is you write down a series of numbers. It can be 10 ones, or 1, 2, 3, 4, which also adds to 10. Okay. What you do is you bet the first and the last ones. If I wrote down one, actually, let me go to my table. Let me go down to the table view. Can I do this easily? I think I can. Hold on. Let me just try something. I'm going to switch my camera. Let me just see if this works. Camera B. Camera C. No, camera B. All right. Give me a second here to I want to do this with you. Camera B should be. Oh, you know what? I got to do this. Hold on. I got to go to camera B. Give me a second here. I'm going to flip this, rotate it, and I'll zoom into it. So let me zoom in. I think it's important to see kind of how this will work. So there's that and that. All right. There's the magic of television right in front of your face right there. All right. Let's move this out of the way. So again, you can do this with a pen. I'll show you the pen way first. And if I write 1, 2, 3, 4, you can see that on my table, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. My first bet would be the 1 and the 4 for 5 units. Okay. Let's say that I won the 5 units. I cross them off. My next bet is the next two numbers, or the next outside numbers, 2 plus 3. Let's say I lose that bet and it's 5, right? Now I write the 5 down. 2, 3, 5. And I bet the outsides, the 2 and the 5. And if I win that bet, that's 7 units. I cross that out. I bet what's left now is 3. And if I win the 3, at the end, I win 10 units. That's how it works, right? You can do it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like all ones if you want to. And bet. And I'll show you. If I do it with chips, we can take this here and I can say, look, here's my betting seat. I'll do it with purples. Let's take 10 purples. 5, 10. All right. And we can play the dumbest game in the world, the odd and even game. All right. I have 10 units. We're going to go 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. We'll do 1, 2. Like that. We'll do ones on the end and we'll do twos in the middle. So there's 10 units. 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 units. All right. Now, what we can do is roll a die. And if it's even, we win. If it's odd, we lose. We'll do like a football game, right? Right. So the odd, we lose, right? We would have bet 2 units. And we would have lost the 2 units. Okay. Now what I have to do, again, you can use white chips. If I have to go, okay, well, shit, I lost 2. Well, where did the 2 go? Well, you can take 2 of your other chips and either put them back at the ends again or do it like this, right? 2 goes to the end. Now I've got 4, 6, 8, 10 chips. I bet 4. Let's say I lose the 4. I got to put 4 chips on the outside now, right? Now I got 4, 6, 8, 10. Always, right? Now I'm betting 6. Let's say I win the 6 units. Okay, there's my 6 units. It comes back to my rack, right? In the profit section, I have 2, 4 left. I bet the 4. I win the 4, and I'm out, right? That's the Labouchere system. And what you end up with is a 10-unit win, right? I should have 5, 10, 15, 20 units. There's my 10 unit profit. That's how this works, right? You just keep betting. As you lose, you add money or add numbers to the outside of it, and you keep betting the last two, the last two, the last two until you have nothing left. That's Labouchere. It's math. It's magic. It's it's like a self-working card trick to me, right? It's a very cool little system, which I think is kind of fun, but obviously it needs bankroll, right? You need massive bankroll to get through that, because if you have 10, 15 losers in a row, which happens, those outside bets become 20 and 20, right? You can spread them out. Instead of putting like, if you lose 4, you don't got to put 4 on one side. You can put 2 and 2. You can spread, make them small, but that just increases the number of times you have to win, right? It's interesting, right? It's one of these cool mathematical things. However, right, the losing streak extends and it goes infinitely out, right? I've done Labouchere tests on my channel before where, I do always at 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 on the ends. I've had 50 chips out there. I've had to win 25 times to come back in, right? It's very difficult, but you don't need an abacus. You can use paper and pen. You can use your notes app on your phone, or you can use chips in the rail, whatever. Just keep them in order. I think you got to set a limit on that. At some point, you got to set a limit, because the more you lose, the more you lose, the more you lose, you're going to get stuck way out into the ether. And you'll have 60, 70, 80 units out there to win your 10. I like it because it gives me a clear target and a pretty structured way to get there, but there's no limit to it. The Labouchere has a target, but there's no limit. The nice thing about it is you know what you're going to win. I'm looking to win 10 units, right? If it works, you're winning those exact 10 units and you're fine and good. The goal is clearly defined in Labouchere, but the limit of your betting is not. There's no ceiling here, so be careful. Later on, we'll talk about a system called the 31, which also has a well-known bet limit. It's also got a built-in ceiling that you'll like. So we'll get into that one at some future point. All right, that's Labouchere. Now, the next thing is going to be a quick one. We'll do a couple of quickies here on odds play. All right, we'll lay odds in craps first. And I think most of us know this, right? The free odds bet is the best bet in the casino, right? Zero house edge, right? On the don't side, same as the pass line. The don't pass and the pass in craps, same thing, right? It's always free odds back there. The difference is on the don't, the math is different, right? It's flipped. Let's hop into how to size. I want to talk today about sizing it right. So, because it's a good bet, you should know how to make the bet, right? And on the don't side, because the math flips, it can be confusing. So let's remember this. If you can get a don't pass bet to get through, you're going to be the favorite. Okay. The 7 is more likely than any number up top. So when you lay odds, you're risking more to win less. However, you have the hammer. And the odds on the dark side, they pay exactly opposite the other side. Okay. So in a 3, 4, 5 table, we'll talk about this. You can lay, and what that means is, let me actually go to the table again. This is probably better done down here again. Let me flip the camera for you. I may have to do that whole thing again. Camera B, does it remember it? It does. Okay. So let's just say, and I'll use black chips as the example here because they're easier to see, or I'll use whites because they're easier to see. The bet? No, I got to use blacks. Blacks are going to be a little easier to see. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We'll use greens. I got a bunch of greens here. So let's just say we're on the don't, right? And let's say that we get a point, and the point is going to be, it doesn't matter which one. We'll pick the 4 and 10 first, right? When the puck's in the 4 or 10, you have the hammer here. Okay. Now on a 3, 4, 5 table, what that means is you're allowed to win 3, 4, or 5 times the flat bet. Okay. So what you're allowed to do here is win 3, 4, or 5 of the bet size. To make the bet proper, right? It's always, remember this trick, it's always 6 times the bet on a 3, 4, 5 table. So 6 times this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times 25 as a lay bet always works. On a 10, that 150 pays you, where's my greens? It pays you 75. You can win 3 times your flat bet on a 4 or 10. That's how that works. Always 6 times the bet. If the point is 5 or 9, okay, 3, 4, or 5 times, right? You can lay 6 bets, 6 unit bet, right? And it'll win 4. 6 wins 4 plus your flat. So 3, 4, 5. So it's 3 times. You can win 4 times your bet. Again, 6 units wins you 4. On the 4 or 10, 6 units wins you 3. On the 6 or 8, 6 units wins you 5 magically, right? 6 wins 5. So you can win 3, 4, or 5 times your flat bet. Max odds on a 3, 4, 5 table from the don't, 6 units, 6 times your flat bet always works. That is the max bet. And notice that it pays opposite of what it pays on the right side. The right side, right, your 3, 4, 5, your 5 times bet, 5 times on the pass line. If you can see the bets behind it, 5 times your flat on the pass line pays 6 for a 6 or 8, right? 4 times your flat bet on the 5 or 9 pays 6, right? 3 times your pass line bet pays 6. Interestingly enough, on the pass line, max odds always pay 6. Okay, don't side is a little bit different, but the lay size is always 6. That's your first hint. Okay, now if you don't want to go max, right, you can use what I call the $30 trick, right? Because max odds is a lot, right? But to get these bets to pay right, and again, you can get confused, like, God, how much odds are even, and what do I do? Always bet 30. Multiples of 30 always work, right? On the 4 or 10, 30 pays a clean $15. Okay. On the 5 or 9, 30 pays a clean $20. On the 6 or 8, 30 pays a clean $25. Right? 15, 20, or 5 for every 30. So the $30 trick works on every single number. It's always an easy, clean, simple to remember, right? So you go 30, you can go 60, right? Again, 60 wins 30, 60 wins 40, 60 wins 50. It always works. $30 increments down here on the don't odds every single time, right? Up to 6 times your flat on a 3, 4, 5 table. That's all you got to know. If you want to bet the dark side and understand the odds, the $30 rule makes it easy to not screw it up. You're always going to be right if your bets are increments of 30. If you want to go max, it's 6x the flat. Period. End of story. Okay. I think, by the way, let me go back to the other camera. There's no way for me to flip the camera, so I use my mouse for this. There's no way, or I'm sorry, there is a, I think there's a Kelly opportunity here, right? And it may deserve a deeper dive someday for us to go into how can we use Kelly when you know you have the hammer, right? Depending on the size of the hammer, again, on the 4 and 10, you have a 2-to-1 advantage on the 4 and 10, right? 66% chance to win. There's a Kelly criteria way to math that out on the don't pass to get bigger odds. On a 10x table or a 100x table, you can actually take enough odds to make Kelly work on the win. So we will do a much deeper show on just Kelly betting with dark side odds. I think there's definitely there's some there. But those 2 tricks should work for you, right? Max odds, always 6x your flat. For any other level of odds, $30 increments. It'll make it super easy for you to manage that. All right. The last topic for today that is going to be lay betting in sports. And again, admittedly, I'm not a sports bettor for lots of reasons, right? I'm too much of a fan to bet on sports. Okay. And most people in sports are betting on things. Yeah. But a lot of times the smart money is betting against them. And that's lay betting. And lay betting, just like on the dark side and craps, is a way to flip the script. Okay. So traditional sports bet, your mind goes to, again, picking the winner. You bet 100 to win 150 or whatever the odds offer you, right? Your pick's got to come through. Lay betting inverts it. You're just betting on something that will not happen and where you kind of become the house, right? So like a long shot team at like plus 500 or something, right? Traditional bettor backs them. You're risking, 100 to win 500. Okay. A lay bettor says that team is not going to win. They'll take the other side. They'll risk the 500 to win the 100. Okay. So you're betting the other side of the loss. Why would you do that? Because, well, sometimes you don't really know who's going to win, but you're pretty sure who's not going to win, right? And sometimes the lines are wrong, or you find a favorable advantage, right? Like, I'll give you an example of a good time to do a lay bet. Okay. I got a Seahawks bet in. in Vegas, right? I bet some money in April on the Seahawks to win the division, the conference, and the Super Bowl. I did the Eagles too, so that bet didn't work out for me, right? But I know what I stand to win on that bet. If the Eagles win, or if the Hawks win on Sunday, I know what I stand to win on that bet. If the Hawks also win on the Super Bowl, I know what I stand to win on that bet, right? They're separate bets. Smart money to me to cover the 50, whatever it was I have, I think it's $50, right? On that bet. To cover that bet, I could bet the Rams this weekend, right? Lay bet, right? Bet the Rams to cover what I bet on the Hawks, right? Make it a zero sum. Either win 100 or win 3,600, right? Some kind of thing like that. Understanding how that system kind of works is the secret to it, right? It's like when Appalachian State beat Michigan, right? The 0-8 team is not going to beat the division winner, right? Appalachian State's not going to beat Michigan. So you put all your money, you're laying the winner. You're putting 100 grand on Michigan to win, $10,000. That's a lay bet, right? Michigan's going to win that game, right? Until of course they don't, right? And that happens, right? So the lay bets are great when you're back in the winner, until the unthinkable happens. And those lay bets become enormous, not bleeds, but it's a gut punch, right? It's a gut punch. So again, you're looking at, not so much who wins, but who's not going to win, which is oftentimes the easier answer. But a bad beat, when that long shot comes through, boy, that wipes out everything. You know what I mean? And there are people who've done it, right? There are people who bet in real time the year that the Seahawks won against the Packers, and they were down by 16 points with like 5 minutes to go, and they won that game. All the in-game betting on that game, those people got torched on that, on those the can't miss kids, right? It happens. Where do all the bad beats stories come from, by the way? It's always that. It's always when some long shot bullshit happens, right? So be careful with it. You can profit from what won't happen, right? You kind of become the house in that case, right? You're risking a lot more to win a lot less, just like on the don't pass. But sometimes, right, the inevitable happens. I think knowing who loses is easier than knowing who wins. And I don't know why my screen didn't change, but it should have. Anyway, sorry about that. But it's the same concept. All right. I think that kind of does it, I think, for the L's. I think we're there. Wow. Take this away today. Math is real. Luck is temporary. We shouldn't pretend otherwise, right? The law of large numbers will grind you down over time. It's what it's made for. It's made to grind you down. But it's not the whole story. I think players who survive, who walk with more profit than they lose, understand the other side of that. It's not about accepting the math. It's having systems that help you navigate the math, right? Loss limits that match your strategy, not a fake one that prevents you from executing your plan, right? Recovery mechanics that treat even as the first goal, not as an afterthought. Systems like Labouchere and ladders give you structure and targets and known outcomes, right? Learn how to profit from the chop where flat betting just treads water, right? The long game is not about math the long game is about fighting the math. It's about playing smarter within the math. And of course, knowing how to play both sides of sports and of craps, it's an eye opener, right? Tomorrow's Friday. We're not doing this tomorrow. We're doing this Monday. Monday, we come back with letter M, mastering fundamentals. We'll cover the mental stuff. We'll cover some martingaling and some more math, of course. So hopefully this changed a little bit about how you think about the long game. And, if it did, share it, subscribe, get somebody educated on how not to live in the morass that is living in the hole of having a loss. So let me go here and make sure we have some Q&As. I'm gonna go check the comment section here now for Q's. There's no questions, it looks like, but I'll check for PCs now and see what happens in the PC section. Looks like Kevin Farm got himself banned. Now this is funny because this is what happened in Seattle too, Kevin. So let's talk about this. Kevin is this dice setter. Okay. Kevin, by the way, is not a fast dice setter. Kevin takes his time. When we were playing in Seattle together, he was taking his time setting the dice. He'd look at me and say something, or the cocktail waiters walk by. He'd go back and kind of, do one of these and come back into it. They were giving him all kind of shit. They're like, you got to go. We're passing the dice. If you don't speed up, we're going to pass the dice. And he gave him a bunch of grief back. And again, that negative energy thing, right? And they weren't having it. Apparently, now in Vegas, he says they only gave me 5 seconds to get it. When it was 6 seconds, they dumped the ball and went to the next shooter. I told you what's happening, right? They are going to ban dice setting. They already in Colorado, the entire state of Colorado, you cannot set the dice. You can have them in your favorite grip and shoot them, but you cannot set them because setting for some people takes too long. It just takes too long. They want every 5 seconds they want to roll, right? They want you setting and shooting within 5 seconds. If they're having a timer on you, what's that telling you? You're going too slow, and that competes with what they want, which is more outcomes per hour. A craps table cannot survive with 30 rolls an hour. It can't. It needs to have 45 to 50 rolls per hour. So if you're not getting the dice out in 5 seconds, they will take them from you and get them to somebody who can. So I'm not surprised that happened. It sucks that it happened, but I'm not surprised by it because that's how the casinos operate. It's all about time on table. They call it time on device. It's all about outcomes per hour. And if you're impacting outcomes per hour, they're going to get somebody out there who will. So learn, everybody who's a dice setter, how to set them fast. Practice. Like drop 2 dice. I don't have my table. I guess I could do this, right? Drop 2 dice on the table, right? If I want to get the hard way set and I see this coming at me, right? I know I've got a 5. When they pass the dice, I can see a 5. I know where the other 5 is. It's either here or it's here because I'm looking at a 6 on top and a 3 facing me, right? If the 3 is facing me, I know the other side of that is a 4. So if I see a 6 and a 3, I know I've got a 4 over there, which means the 5 is either here or it's here. I'll do a quick flip. Oh, I got it right. If not, I'll just go flip, and I'm there, right? I've got my 5-5 and I'm done. Hard way set is completed. It's so easy to do, right? Look at what's coming to you, right? There's my 3. I'm looking at a 6 and a 4 is facing me. I know if I do this right to me, I've got my 3. Hell, it's already a 3V. I can just slide in and I can go. Learn how to set dice fast, everybody. If you're going to be a dice setter, practice speed. Speed matters because give them one less reason to get on your shit. If they get on your shit, you're going to have a bad day, right? It's not going to be a happy day. Not going to be a happy day. All right. There we go. He said both dice need to hit the back wall. Of course, both dice always got to hit the back wall. That's always going to be a thing. Yeah, I hear you there, right? Blame the dice setter versus paying and retaining. I hear you, man. I hear you. It's a thing. But they will not have it. The casino will not allow you to take 15 minutes to go and you're trying to find your 3s and which 3V do I want? And you cannot do this, right? If it takes more than 4 or 5, they're going to take the dice. I'm seeing that more often, right? Learn how to get them set quick. Set them super quick. Then you can take your time getting your grip the way you want it. That's the thing, right? They'll put heat on anybody, anytime, for any reason. That's it. Right? Duracell's saying it here. Dealer's taking way too long to pay bets, slow the game down too, right? And believe me, those guys get heat off shift on how to deal faster. They really do. They're just, again, the casino is not going to have it any way that's not advantageous to them. It's just the way it is. We have to play in their world, unfortunately. So, all right, guys, I got to get out of here. It's 8:25. I'm 10 minutes late for my meeting. Reminder, your last little reminder. Let's go here. Actually, it's going to be this screen right there. Yeah, today. Well, come on, show me it. Oh no, back. There it is. Today's a terrible day to be a problem. You be the problem solvers out there, right? Solve a problem today, right? Again, this came from an AI commercial, but I think it's an important thing for me to kind of keep myself focused on the dream, right? Solving problems. Be a problem to the problem. All right, guys, get out of here. Have a good Thursday. See you tomorrow morning for Friday Follies. We'll have some fun tomorrow. Promises. Tapping out. Bye.